Greetings, my beautiful lovelies. It's Emmy. How are you? It's great to see you and welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by Nature's Sweet. Nature's Sweet brings you deliciously sweet cherub tomatoes, which we'll be using in our recipe today. October is Fair Trade Month, so all Nature's Sweet products are Fair Trade certified. But what does Fair Trade mean? Fair Trade is a global movement that aims to improve the lives of farmers and workers by ensuring they receive fair prices for their products. Fair Trade supports safe working conditions and environmental protections, sustainable livelihoods, and community development funds. Nature's Sweet celebrates the workers they help and who make their tomatoes so sweet right here on the packaging. So when you open this up, you can see right here, there's Gloria Ruiz in packaging, and you can learn more about her right there using that QR code. So why not celebrate Fair Trade Month by trying Nature's Sweet cherubs? Big thanks to Nature's Sweet for sponsoring this video and for allowing me to make better videos for all of you. Alrighty, my lovelies, today we are going to attempt the 100 layer lasagna. And when I say 100 layers, I mean sauce lasagna, sauce lasagna. The sauce is considered a layer, and I saw this several years ago. I was inspired many years ago when I first saw this recipe. It was created by Alvinzo over at Tasty, and I haven't thought about it until recently. I said, remember that old lasagna recipe that I thought, would I ever try that? And today we're going to attempt to make it. So to make this sauce, you're gonna prep your veggies first. You're going to take some onions, and I pulsed mine through the food processor because I want this really finely minced. I did the same thing for my carrots and for my celery. And then to the biggest pot that you have, heat that on medium heat, add your oil. Once that's nice and toasty, add all of your vegetables. So that's your onion, your celery, and your carrots. And then we're going to saute this until they're nice and softened. We're going to add our ground beef, and then stir your vegetables and beef together until well incorporated. While the meat and veggies are cooking, you can prepare your tomatoes. Take your Nature's Sweet cherub tomatoes, give them a good rinse, and place them on a single layer on a baking sheet. And then you're going to place them under the broiler for 15 to 20 minutes or until they start to burst and get a little bit of color on them. And then you can blend them in a food processor or in a blender to make a nice, beautiful roasted tomato puree. We're going to add our tomato sauce that we made, along with some tomato paste and some chicken stock. At this point, if you're using a pot similar to mine, it will be very, very full. So carefully stir everything together and add salt and pepper to taste. Then reduce to a low simmer and allow to simmer for 2 hours. Next, we need to make our bechamel, which is our white sauce. Take 1 stick of butter and melt it in a large skillet or a large pot. We're gonna add our flour, whisk that together, and cook that on medium-low heat until it's golden. You wanna cook out any raw flour taste. And then we're going to add our milk, slowly whisking constantly to make sure there are no lumps. Initially, you may be worried, like I was, that it would be too lumpy, but do not fear, as you add more milk, it will thin out. Add your salt, black pepper, and nutmeg. Whisk this and stir this until it comes to a boil, and that's when it will fully thicken. And reduce the heat and just simmer just for a couple minutes. And that is your bechamel sauce. That's going to be our creamy sauce in between our layers with our meat sauce. I have a 9 by 9 inch square pan here, and in the bottom I've got some parchment. I love heavy duty foil. And I'm folding it to the width of the pan. And this will help us pull the lasagna out of the pan. And I'm gonna do another the opposite direction. Placing it in the bottom so it creates a little plus sign. Now we're going to make a makeshift pan by using some lasagna as walls. So pull out about 3 feet of foil and place 8 sheets forming 4 squares with a 1/2 inch space in between. Now we're going to extend the foil and place another 3 feet of foil on top of the pasta, and then gently press to find where your lasagna sheets are. Fold up the top and bottom edge and then fold it into a box, and that's going to be the walls of our pan. We're going to take about 2 tablespoons of bechamel and spread it at the bottom of the pan. Pre-counted my sheets of lasagna. Alrighty, so now we're going to take our no-bake lasagna sheets, place them on the bechamel, meat sauce, and using an offset spatula, I'm going to very gently smear this out. I'm going to do my best to spread this as evenly as possible, and a layer of bechamel. Spoon to spread that out. We're going to go in opposite directions. So I went horizontally, now I'm going to go vertical for the placement of the pasta to make sure that we have, again, structural integrity. So I'm going to continue this process until I use up all of my pasta. This is 30 sheets. I've got 20 more here. Wrap this entire thing in foil and place it in a 350-degree oven and bake it for an hour and a half. Then we're going to let it cool completely before we slice it, because if we don't, it's going to slippy and slide and we're not going to get that beautiful cross section. Know what I mean? Which is why we're here, to be honest. Alrighty, my lovelies, I'll see you in several hours once this whole thing is all set. Fingers crossed. Alrighty, my lovelies, I am back. This project has taken a minute, but it took me nearly 2 hours to assemble the entire lasagna, the whole 100 layers. It did have a lot of extra sauce and bechamel, but when I watched Alvin's how-to video, I made sure that it didn't put too much sauce, just like a little skimming as he showed in his demo video. So I had about a third of the pot of sauce left over, which I guess I'll use for another pasta recipe. Same with the bechamel. I probably used about half of what I made. This method of using the foil underneath the pan worked famously. Highly recommend also lining it with parchment so it doesn't stick. Okay, so now we're gonna peel off. Wowzers. Oh my gosh, look at this. What in the world? All right, my lovelies, here it is. 100 layers of lasagna. It weighs a ton. Zhuzh it up with a bit of flat leaf parsley that I've chopped up. That definitely brightens things up a bit. Yeah. Alrighty, cutting into the lasagna monstrosity. All right, it's cutting pretty solidly, like that. Got a sharp knife. I'm gonna take this corner. Little sawing motion for the top layers. All the way down. All right, here we go. Ready? Dun, 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 dun. Oh my gosh, it's so heavy. Wow, yes! Looks so great inside. Finally, I get to see what it looks like inside. Impressive. Boo. Wow. That's a lot of pasta. Oh my goodness, my lovelies. This thing is incredible. It doesn't feel any lighter with one less slice. Look at that. That's crazy. Wow, it's dense. Very dense. Alrighty, here we go. Itadakimasu. There's a lot of pasta going on here. Each layer, of course, is separated with the meat sauce and our bechamel, but relative to what I'm used to for a typical lasagna, this has a lot of pasta, a lot of dough. So the lasagnas that I'm familiar with, the layers of sauce and ricotta or bechamel in between are much thicker relative to the layers of pasta, so it's much more saucy. This one is not as saucy, it's very pasta heavy, but we needed to do so in order to have any kind of structural integrity for 100 layers. Plus it would have been a mile high and impossible to cut. Here's a bite. We took a lot of time and care to make a really good meat sauce, and it shows in this because that's really what is giving this dish all its flavor. I taste the celery, the onions, and of course the ground beef and tomatoes, all those roasted tomatoes we put in there to give us that really concentrated, strong tomatoey flavor. I've never cooked with no-bake pasta before, and it is different. The layers of pasta are much thinner, but somehow it tastes stodgier. It's more pasta-y, but maybe that's because relative again to the amount of sauce, there's more pasta to sauce. It's pretty tasty, but the proportions are off. But I created a 100-layer lasagna, and I'm pretty thrilled about that. Alrighty, my lovelies, thanks so much for watching and tuning into my antics. Big thanks to NatureSweet for sponsoring this video. Celebrate Fair Trade Month by trying NatureSweet cherubs. Thanks again for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one. I hope you learned something. Please share this video with your friends. Follow me on social media, like this video, subscribe, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye! Alrighty, wonder what my kids are gonna think.